and I'm currently still co-chairing the Working Parents ERG because it's a huge passion of mine, as you'll soon find out, as well as our Asians in America's ERG. So the reason why I'm passionate about being a working parent is because I am new to being a working parent. I have a 2-year-old, actually he's 26 months now, and a 4-month-old. So I feel like I'm doing everything on extra hard mode. I can no longer say that I have 2 under 2, although it definitely feels like it. And I know some of you can relate. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation with all of you.
All right, let's meet our panelists. Midi, would you like to start by introducing yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for having me. My name is Midi Bartonelli. I'm originally from Easton, Pennsylvania, but I have been living in Washington, D.C. for the past 25 years. I am the chair of the Washington, D.C. Board of Nursing. I was one of the 2020 presidential electors last year for the 2020 election. And I'm the mother of a very rambunctious, very full of energy freshman in high school. This is his first year, my son, and he is a 14-year-old and he's an avid lacrosse player. And so I'm married to my husband for the last 22 years, and I'm excited to be here to share my viewpoint. And thank you to my new friend, Liz. And I think I see Josh on there somewhere. Oh, there he is. Hi, Josh. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you, Midi. Let's see. Brittany, would you like to introduce yourself next, please?
Absolutely.
Great.
I'm Brittany. I work for Wayfair. I've worked there for a little over a year. It was nice because it happened right before the pandemic started. I got to start working from home, which was really nice. I didn't have as much as a transition as some people. Prior to that, I worked for King Soopers for 11 years. So it was my first job. And then I had my daughter, Kylie. She's 11 months old, and I'm sorry, she's 18 months old. She's the reason that I started to work from home. I also have a 12-year-old stepson. They both keep me very, very busy.
I'm sure they do. Thank you so much. Marianne, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Marianne Linder. I work for the Water Environment Federation. I've been there 9.5 years. I work in education for our members in live events normally, which is now gone. There are no such thing as live events. Everything's gone virtual like this in that space. And I have a one son. He is 10 years old. And hopefully you all don't hear him. It's spring break, and so he's having fun gaming with his friends right now. Normally he's also entertained with soccer, which thankfully we are back up and running on, keeping me sane.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you. Cassie, would you mind introducing yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Cassie Butler. I have been with Trupanion, a medical insurance company for cats and dogs, for the last 2 years. I'm a QA specialist for them. I have been married to my husband, Chris, for 20 years, and with my other partner, Michael, for 3. And I have 2 daughters who are 18 and 14, and they are exactly like me, which is about as challenging as it sounds.
That's funny. It's funny to see these humans we create turn into us, right? That's something. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Nikki, I will turn it back over to you. We can get started with questions, conversations.
Absolutely. So I think some of you have transitioned from working in the office to working from home, while others, you may still be going out to work. Just like as a check-in, how has this year been for you? What's changed? Has it been good or has it been challenging? For myself, I'll just say that it's been good and bad, right? So it's a little bit of both. I transitioned from working full-time in an office in New York City to now living in the suburbs and working from home for about a year now. And it's really different. There are a lot more interruptions. It's harder to get things done. But at the same time, it's amazing to be able to be around and to have those short breaks where you can check in on the kiddos and see how they're doing and be able to experience some of the mundane parts of parenting that are very actually exciting when you're a parent. So how has it been for you? Any of our panelists want to share?
I'll go. It's been intense, but I've learned a lot. It's also been a very educational year because you're learning how to cram. And I worked part from home before this, but then at the very beginning of COVID, my company actually mobilized to put everybody work from home within like the first week of them saying that's what we needed to do. And so like all of a sudden, our whole company was working from home. And so it was kind of this like, I had a little bit of experience in doing it. So like I had tips and tricks to like help people. So you end up being a resource if you're somebody who has familiarity with working at home for those who aren't as familiar. And so it's been an interesting learning challenge, learning how to like accommodate everybody's needs and get everything done.
Awesome.
And
Absolutely,
Nikki, I would
Cassie.
just add,
Yep. Oh, yes. Go ahead, Meaty.
I would just add to that. Unfortunately, obviously, as you all know, I'm a nurse, and so I didn't get to work from home. And so that was very, very challenging because I actually was partially fearful of last year, particularly at the early parts of the pandemic, going to work every day. And Liz heard me share the story in another forum of, coming home, literally stripping to my underwear at the door. Sorry, Josh, stripping to, and the other men that are out there. But, stripping to my underwear literally at my door. My husband would, spray my shoes, spray my purse. And I'm like, hey, don't spray my Louis bag. So he would literally, spray everything down to really make sure that I was safe. And so my parenting was almost very hypersensitive. Those of you that have little older kids also know the challenge. And he's an only child. And so, I was definitely fearful of, what is this like of him sitting in a room all day? My husband was already working from home prior to COVID. And so that was not as much of a challenge for him, but definitely just, making sure I didn't get them sick. What would happen if I got sick? God forbid I die, particularly early on when we were all very nervous about the pandemic and COVID-19. And then I did get sick, ironically, this past January. Obviously, I'm here and I'm well and I'm allowed to tell the story. But even at that time, it was the day before the insurrection at the Capitol. So I live in DC. And on the 5th was when I had to get quarantined. And so that was fearful because then my son, who has his freshman year in high school, was, already adapting to a new academic. He went to a brand new school, right? It's high school, which is completely different from middle school. The academic rigor is different. He's in a private school. And so just really giving myself grace, giving him grace, honestly, I just said, I don't want any Fs, just whatever you do, don't fail any of my classes. I spent all this money and make mom and dad proud, and whatever you need we're here to help and support you. So for me, it was kind of like Cassie said, just, giving grace. It was nice to sometimes now being home or my husband being home with him, their relationship has bonded a little bit more, but definitely for me, it was stressful as the mom.
100% Meaty. And I think that's so important, is that conversation and continuously reminding yourself to be gentle with yourself, to give yourself grace and to give others that too, because it's been such a tremendous year. Thank you. Any other panelists want to share?
I could go into there, definitely. So with this, it's been good and bad. I'm gonna kind of explain the bad side of it. Is working from home. You have to be a lot more mindful when it comes to self-care. That often gets towards the bottom of the list when you have kids and work, and it's just it's different perspective when you're trying to fill all those shoes that we had to fill those before, but it's just a different dynamic, and having to adjust to that while being responsible for yourself and your own well-being is challenging.
Absolutely. It's been very difficult. And what about the good? You mentioned that there's some good, right?
Yes. So it's been nice. So my stepson, he's 12. So he's been working from home or going to school from home, which has been really nice. So I can be right there with him, to make sure he has ADHD. So it's good to make sure that he's where he needs to be with that. But following along with that is, I have to be teaching myself to be kind to him with that, grace. But then, yeah, it's nice to be able to pop in the other room and see what she or he is doing. It's nice to have that flexibility that you didn't have working outside of the home.